Today I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about business intelligence in the parking industry. Now, first of all, I think the term business intelligence is often misunderstood by parking operators and asset owners. Most of them probably think it's really complicated and out of their reach, something reserved for large enterprise companies. And the truth is, it's really not. In its simplest form, business intelligence simply means getting the right data to the right people at the right time so they can make intelligent business decisions. So what I'd like to do today is cover 5 easy principles to get you guys started on your road to business intelligence. So the first principle is less is more. When you're driving your car down the highway, for example, and you glance down at the dashboard, the only thing that really matters is probably your speedometer and occasionally looking at your gas level. If you're flying a small plane, even though there are dozens of instruments in the cockpit, at any given point in time, you're probably only looking at 3: the artificial horizon, the altimeter, and maybe the oil pressure. My point here is that there's only so much information that can be relevant to you at any given point in time, and only a few of those really matter. I think most managers look at too much data and wonder why they can't make sense of it all. And so the first principle of a successful business intelligence strategy is to figure out what critical numbers matter the most for your company, your department, your garage, or your valet stand. Right, for example, is it, vehicles per man hour for your valet stand, or percent occupancy for your garage, or the number of tickets issued, by kiosk? I don't know the answer. I just know that it's different for every company and every location. And the key is to figure out which are the 1, 2, or 3 that matter most as an indicator of a success for your business. Principle number 2 is trend it. Once you've figured out the 1 to 3 critical numbers that matter most for your business, chances are you have to look at these numbers over time for them to make sense to you. Right? There are very few numbers that are relevant in absolute terms. So for example, I know that 72 degrees is a very comfortable temperature for this room. I don't have to trend that over time to know whether 72 degrees is good or bad. But how about 1,000 cars parked in my garage? Is that good or bad? Well, I don't know. Let me trend it over time. Is it, how did it compare to last week, to last quarter, to this same week a year ago? Or my average retrieval time. Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? So once you've figured out your 1 to 3 critical numbers, trend them over time. Principle number 3 is put it on display. Critical numbers are useless unless they can be seen by those people who can impact them. So find a way to put your critical numbers on display for those people, whether it's on a whiteboard, a large piece of paper, on an intranet, it doesn't matter. So for example, if retrieval time is a critical number for your valet runners, find a way to put their average retrieval time up on display for all to see so it can actually impact their performance. Principle number 4 is a single truth. It's very common for critical numbers and business data to come out of multiple systems. It's also unfortunately very common for these different systems to define those critical numbers differently, and that can prove disastrous. So for example, if as a parking operator, your shift ends at midnight, but the hotel you're working with, their shift ends at 3 a.m., and you're trying to do the math on number of vehicles parked in both systems, you're not going to get the same number. All right, so what's important here is that everyone agrees on what is the definition, what is the single truth of each critical metric, agree on the definition, standardize on it, and then stick to it. And the last principle is automate. So nothing I've discussed so far actually inherently requires a computer system to figure it out. In fact, a lot of small operators and small companies can collect this data and calculate this data manually. And as long as it's somebody's job to collect it, calculate it, and then display it, you're doing great. But at some point, it's a lot more efficient to work with systems that can provide you this data in an automated fashion and display this data in an automated fashion so that, again, you get the right data to the right people at the right time so they can make the best business decisions.